Okay, we're going again. Okay, so this is part 2 of the little shoulder warm-up that we did yesterday. Yesterday we mostly worked on external rotation. Today we're going to add internal rotation, and then we're going to mix them both together. So I'm under a pergola. You can do this at a wall or anywhere that you have a surface. You don't even need a surface, but you only need just like a little finger's width of space. It just kind of helps you mark your place in space. But you really can do it in the air too. So I'm going to use this beam first and do my left shoulder first. So we did a lot of external rotation yesterday. We're going to start with internal rotation now. So I've got my middle finger on here. I'm about an arm's distance. I'm not going to be above shoulder height, but being at shoulder height is fine. If, though, as you're doing this, you feel any impingement or discomfort, really, other than that you're just working muscles that you don't normally work, but any sort of pinchy, compressive feeling, try, before you just don't do it, try first doing it with your hand a little bit lower and see how that is for you. It tends to free it up a little bit. If it doesn't, do something different or don't do this one. Okay, so I'm going to start with my hand at shoulder height and see how it goes. I'm going to think about, just like in the last video, starting the rotation down in my hand. So I'm first just going to think about internally rotating my hand. So that will bring my palm down toward the floor. In. And then once my palm is like, yeah, that's about as far as I go, I'm going to go, okay. My forearm's already started down that road, but I'm actually going to think about specifically the forearm and the wrist going even further. And then I'm going to think about specifically taking the humerus bone, the upper arm bone, even further. And you can see that's lifting my shoulder blade up toward my ear. And I'm just going to let it kind of bring my whole shoulder blade up and over. And then you can see what else that's doing is it's sort of pushing me away from the where I've got my hand. So I'm doing a little side bend to my right. It's also rotating me a little bit if I let it. So as I've turned my arm way in, if I just keep getting out of the way of that motion, I actually turn and lean to the right. Not a piece that I want you to try to accomplish, a piece I want you to try to allow. So then you're going to go back the other way, just like we did in the last tape, but you're starting with your hand again. So I'm externally rotating my hand, my wrist, my forearm. Think about my elbow, think a little more about my humerus bone, my shoulder girdle, my scapula. That's going to take me, just like we did before, into a little bit of extension, maybe a little bit of a turn or a lean toward the arm. And then I'm going to go back the other way. Internally rotating, internally rotating, internally rotating until it comes up and turns me and even leans me. And you can see my whole pelvis is moving, even my feet might even be shifting, the weighted position. And then I'm going to go back the other way. Hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm, shoulder girdle, spine gets involved. I'm turning and I'm leaning. Yeah? Only because my arm has pulled me there, not because I'm deciding to make it a lean or a turn. Okay? So let's just do one more of those. Rotating in, all the way up and over. Letting it keep going, keep going, keep going. And then all the way back. Hand, wrist. So you're checking here too if you're feeling any discomfort anywhere. You might need to lower your arm. You can do this whole thing down here. You're still going to get lots of great shoulder motion. As I keep externally rotating, I'm starting to be kind of pulled toward it. You could even think about reaching. That part you could do on purpose, kind of reaching your palm toward whatever wall you're on, and that will encourage your spine to turn and to lean. Okay, let's do the other arm. So I've got another side here. I don't think it's in the frame, but it's right here. So we're going to go internal rotation first. So I'm turning my hand in, wrist, forearm, elbow, upper arm bone, shoulder blade. You can see it's starting to move my spine a little bit. It's moved my pelvis a little bit, and then I'm going to go back the other way, hand. Yeah, so I'm really not, just because I know where I'm going, I'm not restarting by going, oh, I'm doing external rotation, right? I'm really going to go back down to the hand and be like, okay, you first. For no real other purpose than to make sure all the parts are doing what I want them to do. They're all moving instead of just kind of making a big chunky thing that's going to end up probably skipping a sticky spot. And then I'm going to go back the other way, internal rotation, getting that forearm, upper arm, shoulder blade. Going to take my spine a little bit. If you don't feel like it's making you lean or turn, don't lean or turn. Yeah, just move the arm. It may be that your shoulder or shoulder blade is sticky enough that it's not going to actually affect your spine. And that's just something to work on a little bit more. And then one more. Rotating it in. Not going to skip my wrist or my forearm or my elbow or my upper arm or my shoulder blade. I'm going to let that shoulder blade really come up and over, exaggerating it, and that's what's going to send me over to the side and turning a little bit. And then back, starting with my hand. Elbow, upper arm, shoulder blade. And then I'm going to add that little bit of a pushing toward, like getting my palm closer to the wall. And that's going to pull my spine a little bit more that way. All right, so I think we just did like 3 on each side. Now we're actually going to do a little addition with the head and neck. So same thing, except you're going to try to keep your head relatively, I hesitate to say stable because I don't want you to grab or think of stabilizing. Just keep your head in the same position basically, so that wherever your spine goes and your shoulder goes, it actually affects some motion in here. So you can see if I were to, so I'm going to speed through it, if I were to just go do an internal rotation and let my head move with it, there's not actually a lot of movement right here in my cervical spine, right? But if I keep my head centered and I move the hand and the arm and all of that, and I'm keeping the head here, then this is going to actually kind of shorten. I'm getting a little bit of a lengthening through here. I'm also getting a little bit of a rotation in my cervical spine now, not just the rest of my spine. And then as I come back, same, and this time as I'm rotating externally and kind of reaching toward that wall, I'll be getting, just by keeping my head centered, right, and letting the rest of me move around that, I'll be getting a little shorter here, a little longer here. Okay, so let's do a couple of those. So, internal rotation, all the way up, forearm, don't skip the elbow, upper arm, shoulder blade, I'm keeping my head. So this is relatively easy for me to do because I have a camera and I'm making sure I'm in the frame and everything so I can see my head. Another way to do this that's great is with a mirror. I'm gonna go the other way. But you can also just get the feeling for it. You can do it anywhere. I'm going all the way around and I'm reaching toward that wall, but I'm trying to keep my head centered. Also, you'll see we'll do it without the wall as well. One arm and then the other. And around. Okay, try to get the feeling of your arm bones and your shoulder blade and your collarbone and your neck and your skull all being kind of slippery places. It shouldn't take a lot of work to move these parts of you if you relax. And a lot of us have a really hard time relaxing our neck and shoulders. Okay, my arm's getting tired. Okay, and now we're going to do the other side. Whew, just take a second. Feeling that side, I feel like I'm too far away, I can't see, but I feel like this side is much lower than the other side. It feels a lot looser and a lot better. So let's do the other side. So internal rotation, lower arm, upper arm. So now our focus is on getting out of the way and trying to keep the head relatively in a centered position, right? Instead of just moving along with it. And then the other direction, hand, forearm, everything moving all the way until we get up into the shoulder blade. That moves the spine. And now I'm going to reach toward that wood beam. Oops. This is definitely my harder side to keep my head centered. Rotating in. Letting that come up. Yeah, no problem. I tend to live here. But the other direction, external rotation, reaching toward that wall. All right, I'm sticky down here. I mean, it's not just my neck spine that's having a hard time getting into this position, because I'm asking lateral flexion this way, lateral flexion that way. I'm asking for some rotation, and my spine does not go as often in this direction as it does in the other one. Internally rotating, home, and then externally rotating, reaching toward, trying to keep my head centered. And then back. Hi. Okay. Now both my shoulders feel pretty relaxed. My low back feels a little looser too. And then the last piece is to do them both at the same time. I've never tried it with both things here, but I'm going to. I'm not touching them right now. So if I'm internally rotating one, I'm going to let the internally rotating arm push me toward the externally rotating arm, and I'm trying to keep my head centered. Yeah, I can't really reach the wood thing, so you really don't need something on either side. And remember, you can do this down here if it's too hard up here. It's a little more challenging up there. So you can be internally rotating, letting that push you toward the arm that is externally rotating, and thinking about trying to keep your head upright. And then I'm going to start with internal rotation again on this arm, rotating the arm, hand, everything, letting it push me, push me, push me, push me, and then externally rotating over here, trying to keep my head upright. Starting with internal rotation on this side, internally rotating, 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 pushing, 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 externally rotating, rotating, okay? And then we'll try to do them both at the same time. Remember that the internally rotating arm for this exercise is what's going to push you over toward the externally rotating arm, yeah? But you can do them at the same time. One is rotating in, one is rotating out, and my goal is to keep my head, I guess centered isn't necessarily the best word, it's more just upright instead of here, right? So we're just thinking of keeping the head straight up and down. Pressing through with the internal rotator, reaching through with the externally rotating arm. Whew. Okay, couple shoulder rolls. And that's it for shoulders today. See you soon.